And that scene with Marianne, it plays into the fact that Brandon, I mean, he is, as a character, he is outwardly successful, he is sociable, he is charming. People do want to be with him. I think it's important that Brandon is a character who does have that private side and that public side. He's not, the sexual addiction doesn't mean he's a social reject, he doesn't lock himself away, but we're able to see someone who's two very, very different characters. I mean, he's someone that gets up, goes to work, looks smart, looks happy, he's charming, but obviously in the evening he's a very different character, and he shies away from intimacy as well. Do you think it's important we get to see this, as a kind of Jekyll and a Hyde?
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much a Jekyll and Hyde. I think it's like, most people in here, I think, he's an addict, so he has to be a good actor. It's like if somebody's an alcoholic and they're coming to work, the bottle of whiskey's not sitting on the table. It's like, hey, come on in. It's in the bottom drawer, and so Brandon has many faces. He goes to work and he seems to be sort of in control. I mean, he's that's really it's a sign of how consumed he is by this addiction. The fact that he's on his computer surfing porn at work. I mean, he's a smart enough guy. All of us know that there's a database there. And that he's risking his job, or going to the bathroom, having to masturbate. That's not something that he wants people to know, because when they do find out, he will definitely be that dirty sort of individual. And that was the thing that was really important for me when I was playing the part. I wanted to make sure that I bring Brandon close to me. That it's not that idea of like, there's the dude in the rain mac with the sweaty palms, No, it's like, this is a normal person, one of us, all of us. It's like the guy that you would see at work, the guy that you would see on the tube.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, exactly. This is something, and again, sort of, it makes sort of full circle to that idea of, the celebrity sort of introduction to this world. But the fact of the matter is that it is in all walks of life, and it is in all professions, that this affliction is real. So that was very sort of important.
There's a sense of that macho corporate environment is a real crutch for him as well, isn't it? Because he doesn't, the colleagues who he has friendships with, they're very superficial as well. They'll go out at night, they'll banter, but they also allow him to go out and just flirt with women in clubs. Well, there's a sense that he's maybe attracted to that kind of corporate lifestyle because it allows him just to be a bit faceless and not have intimacy with people as well. Do you think that? I mean, you get a sense of that with his relationship with his boss, the way they go out, go to clubs. It allows him to continue that lifestyle.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, each job has its own thing. Listen, he needs to make money, in order to survive, to pay the rent, and to do all those things. And so the relationship with the boss is a kind of, and it is a perverse relationship. The boss knows that he is surfing porn. It's not like, whoever else that he fobs it off on. This is like, but he wants to have him around because he's fun to be around. He likes sort of, the women are always sort of there. That relationship is murky. The boss is using his control over Brandon, but Brandon has a sort of strange sort of, David needs Brandon in a sort of weird, perverse way, but it's just like he's just trying to function. The job is there in order for him to survive. So he acts, like I was saying, he plays a different performance, in order to sort of not go detected, to sort of, to facilitate whatever that he needs to do to survive in New York. It's like living in London. It's like, it's not easy, it's expensive, so you want to keep your job, and he's got a good enough job that allows him to sort of be comfortable,
For me,
financially.
One of the really powerful things about the film is how it exists so very much in the now. It's only over a very short period of time. We don't flash back. If we do flash back or forward, it's between a period of minutes or an hour, or it just takes place over only a few days or even weeks in a sense, really. But there's a sense, especially through Brandon's relationship and the way he interacts with his sister, with Sissy, of a background there which is bearing down on their present. Obviously, because of the way Steve McQueen tells the story, we don't learn anything of it. But did you, when you're preparing the film, making the film, did you and Steve McQueen, and maybe the writer Abby Morgan and Carey Mulligan who plays Sissy, do you talk a lot about their background? Was it something that you shared amongst yourselves, or was it something that Steve McQueen wanted you just to bring to the film yourself, and it wasn't something that he was necessarily wanted to give you or discuss with you?
No, we did. We talked a lot about it, and then Steve did one. You know, we brought our own sort of personal details to it.
On the back of that, there was something. Last night, Michael won a Best British Actor award at the London Critics Circle Awards, and you said when you were picking up the prize, you said Kerry Mulligan was there as well, and you said that it's great to work with an actress who, you know, it was great to work with her because she allowed you to bring so much more to Brandon. I was curious to ask you what you meant by that. I mean, what did you find she was bringing to Sissy that you were then able to bring more to, which allowed you to bring more to Brandon, or allowed you to take Brandon somewhere else?
Well, it's all about, I can sort of do what I do within my sort of thing, I'll elaborate. It's like, when you start off, and I was doing television, for example, and you're playing sort of very much supporting roles, and so you have to look after yourself. The director's not going to be there to sort of give you the attention that he will do the main players. So you develop a craft, and you develop an understanding, and you can bring a certain amount to the part, and it will be solid, let's say. But in order for you to really excel, and in order for you to really discover things that surprise you and push you beyond the boundaries that are safe for you within that realm, you need other people to really provoke you and to challenge you and to support you and to surprise you. And that goes for the director. I mean, it's like we all know, I see sort of, imagine that this is a sort of film enthusiast audience. Directors can bring great performances out of mediocre actors, and bad directors can bring very bad performances out of good actors. And you need, it's all about the people around you. You can do one, it's like you can build a wall, that's example of by yourself in a certain way, but if there's 3-4 people there and you all have sort of like-minded ways about you, but also challenging and different ways about you, then you will sort of build a more interesting wall, or, it'll just be, maybe you'll paint a nice picture on it. It'll challenge you more, and it'll just be more interesting, and it'll be more rewarding, I think. So as singular sort of entities, we can do what we do, but when you sort of combine things, that's when you really get explosive stuff. And that's the thing you need, like with Kerry's part and my part. I don't like to talk too much beforehand with I just like go out there and do it, and and throw it at me, and then my job is to react to that, not to go, why didn't you tell me that you were going to slap me in that scene, or you were going to sort of give a gap. I'd actually prefer if you sped up that line so I can come in with this nicely rehearsed rhythm of my line. No, it's like, that's boring. It's like, you want to sort of prepare yourself, and then you want to be able to sort of react, be awake, be aware, and that's when you're really cooking, and that's when it's like sort of music, and you're sort of you're jamming as opposed to sort of rolling out a very polished set. I always think it's like the same as like an album. You go into a studio and you have to do something under a restricted time. It doesn't give you the time to polish it. It mightn't be a perfect piece, but the essence of it is something really interesting. And just the sort of, there's a rawness to it, and electricity.
Well, we're going to take some questions from the audience. There's some microphones going around.
I was wondering, we've heard a lot about what politicians and directors think of what's going on with the Film Council. This film had Film Council funding. As an actor, where do you stand on what should and shouldn't get public funding?
I don't know. I think, we have to make sure that there's, and I don't really know much about it. I keep things pretty simple. I read scripts, I find what, works, and I guess that's my sort of, selfishness and ignorance, that I don't sort of look to where the money's coming from. I will be doing that, hopefully in the future. My main priority is that there's a wide enough stretch in this country to make the films and to really utilize the talent out there, and I really mean the young talent coming through. All the different ethnicities that we have here in the city that makes it special, and the fact that we all really integrate well together, and that we have the confidence as well in this country that we do make great films, and that we don't need to rely on a Hollywood structure, but we can make also commercial films that make money, and films like this that that are necessary, and that you have a wide enough range, and that enough people are being encouraged, and that we don't sort of get stuck with the same things all the time. That we keep an influx of talent coming through and keep feeding the students and the future of the business. That's all I'm worried about. Really, sort of making sure that we're keeping the garden cultivated.
We're back to the wall. Let's thank you very much. We're going to take that question there.
Hi, Michael. My name is Heather. I'm probably quite biased because I am a New Yorker, but it seems to me that one of the lead characters in the movie is New York. And
of course you'd say that. We're outnumbered here.
But one thing I love is that it's one of the very few movies I've seen in which New York is portrayed in a way that is believable to me. And I think what it truly is how you see Brendan going from all of these very intimate moments that are all happening in very anonymous ways. And I think that's extremely New York. And so for me, I'm wondering, did you see New York as any sort of influence towards the character of Brandon? Do you think the film would have been different if it were set in London or in LA? Talk to me.
I'm going to use that method.
The thing is, it was always important to have a city that was 24/7, that you can access whatever excess it is that you're looking for, and that it's kind of at your fingertips. It was a backdrop for Brandon sort of leads us through the New York that he needs and uses and is a part of. And I know for sure it was very exciting for Steve and I every day. We were like, we're filming in New York, There were so many films that have influenced me that were made there. And Brandon understands his New York. He knows where to go to get a coffee. He knows where to go to have a threesome. He uses the Tube, which is a sort of interesting place because like here, we're all living on top of each other. There's millions of people living in and around each other, yet it can be so lonely, and that's such an interesting concept as well. And also the fact that we started to discover as you film in New York, a lot of the time you're living in the sky. It's a small concentrated area so that you build up into the sky and you're living in the clouds a lot of the time. And that's also a very sort of cool and interesting perspective, and we see that through the hotel, the office that he works in, his own apartment, the fact as well that the apartment, that space, it's expensive to rent in New York, and so how much do you get for your dollar there, And but essentially it needed to be a 24/7 place, where you can sort of facilitate all this there's access to excess at all times.
If I can